Hey, get some folks in here. What's going on? Today's an exciting topic. We have a guest who's joining us today. Hi, Laz. It's nice to meet you.
But nice to meet you, Dave. What's up, man?
What's up?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Likewise, likewise. We'll get started a little bit. Want to let people roll in because this is a pretty important topic. So
It,
it is, right? Yeah. And so I want to make sure we get as many folks in the room before we get started.
of course, of course.
For everybody who's joining, I do want to remind you all that Whitman-Walker is still open for HIV, STI testing, and you can email us or call. You can call at 202-797-4439, or you can email us at the pinned comment at the bottom at appointments@whitmanwalker.org.
Yeah,
And we're still doing COVID-19 testing. So if you have not got vaccinated and you need a COVID-19 test, or otherwise, just email us and we'll help you with that. So today we have a good topic. It's one of the topics I've been most excited about. First, I want to introduce myself. I am David Wilson. I'm one of the Whitman-Walker influencers here at Whitman-Walker. I've been doing this for like over a year now. It doesn't seem that long, but it's been a fun year. We come on here to talk about different topics, whether that's STI, sexual health, um, um, or any other like topics, community health related topics. That's what we're here for. Today, we are particularly talking about same-sex marriage. We'll provide a little bit of history, and me and Laz will share that history and also talk about our own experiences as far as, hey, Lando, hey, Roderick. Well, I see we have a bunch of our team members who are joining us today. So, Laz, you want to introduce yourself?
of course, of course. So I'm Lazaro. Full name is Lazaro Solorzano Jr. I'm a bilingual prep specialist at Whitman-Walker Health. A cheap plug, if you need anything prep related, call us at 202-939-7690. We'll be glad to assist. You don't necessarily have to be a patient to get some assistance. So reach out. My pronouns are he, him, his. And about me, let's see. I am a DC native, born and raised. I am from DC, proud. And my parents are from El Salvador. And I am 36 years old, just turned 36 4 days ago. So,
Well, happy
yeah,
belated.
thank you, sir. Thank you. Cancer season in the house. Yes, yeah. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Cool. Well, welcome on. This is your first time, right?
It's my first time on Whitman Walker's page. Yes, definitely.
Nice, nice. So
Wow.
welcome. And so we're DC represent. So we're gonna jump into the conversation today. Again, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them down below. Or you can use the question feature that is located at the bottom right of the screen. You just hit that question mark and you can put your question there. We'll get a notification and we can follow up on that question throughout our discussion. So, to get into the conversation, on June 26th of this year, we'll celebrate the 6th anniversary that same-sex marriage has been legalized in the U.S. through the Supreme Court's decision to uphold Obergefell and Hodges. So today, I will be talking about the history of same-sex marriage, along with Laz, and also bring in our bilingual prep specialist to talk a little bit more about his experiences and what it means for him, his experience being in a same-sex marriage. And yeah, so to get started, we'll jump into the history. We're going way back to the 1970s. So in the 1970s, the case for same-sex marriage actually didn't make much headway in the 70s. It was probably pretty much introduced there, I would say. I mean, same gender or same gender loving relationships have been around forever. But this idea of marriage or this fight for marriage equality really surfaced in the 1970s. So a same-sex couple in Minnesota applied for a marriage license. They were denied, and then their case went to the state Supreme Court. And then they ended up not being able to get married. In 1973, Maryland actually became the first state to actually ban same-sex marriage, right? So that's crazy. Not much progress made in the 1970s.
Right? In the 80s, though, however, we did see some progress for same-sex marriage, especially in more liberal cities and states. In 1983, spousal rights of same-sex couples became an issue. The lesbian couple is confronted with spousal rights issue when one of them was in a car accident and the other is denied the right to care for. In 1984, in Berkeley, California, they passed the nation's first domestic partnership law. And in 1987, first mass same-sex wedding ceremony happened on the National Mall. Nearly 2,000 same-sex marriages took place. And then finally, in 89, court rulings in New York and California defined same-sex couples as families.
Yes. So then we get into the 1990s, and the 1990s was a great time for progress, but it was also we experienced some setbacks during that time as well for same-sex marriage. So let's start in 1993. So in 1993, the Hawaii case of Bacher and Lewin, later became known as Bacher and Mike, was initiated. There was a person, Nina Bach, who sued the state of Hawaii, alleging that the state's refusal to issue her and her same-sex partner a marriage license amounted to illegal discrimination. I would probably agree with that statement there, right? In 1999, actually, she won the case. The Hawaii Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage in the state. It represented the first major judicial victory for same-sex marriage activists. Though it was a victory on the state level, it really motivated opponents of same-sex marriage to pass the Defense of Marriage Act. You probably all heard of this as DOMA, D-O-M-A, DOMA. It's the Defense of Marriage Act. In 1996, this federal law was actually passed by the 104th United States Congress and signed into law by our very own Bill Clinton. It defined marriage, for federal purposes as a union of one man and one woman. Obviously, that was a setback for us, right? And it allows states to refuse to recognize same-sex marriages granted under the law of other states. And then in 1999, Vermont Supreme Court ruled that same-sex couples must receive the same benefits and protections as any other married couple under Vermont Constitution. So that was the progress we made in the 90s. We heard our setback and then the progress we made.
So it seems like things went up in 2000. The 2000s, I should say, same-sex couples in some parts of the country got more rights, and the reaction of other parts of the country were swift and severe. In 2000, Nebraska voters approved a state constitutional ban on same-sex marriage. In 2002, Nevada votes to approve a state constitutional ban on same-sex marriage. In 2003, a proposed amendment to the federal constitution is introduced to the House of Representatives, and it would define marriage as only between a man and a woman. Shameful. The U.S. Supreme Court decides Lawrence versus Texas, striking down sodomy law and enshrining a broad constitutional right to sexual privacy. In California, passes a domestic partnership law, which provides same-sex partners with almost all the rights and responsibilities as spouses in civil marriages. And President Bush states that he wants marriage reserved for heterosexuals. And the Massachusetts Supreme Court hands down a decision in Goodbridge versus Department of Public Health that makes Massachusetts the first state to legalize gay marriage. Yes, Massachusetts.
I know, right? And so, all right, there we go, right? There's some progress there. So in 2004, it was actually an extremely active year. The city of San Francisco began to marry same-sex couples in an open challenge to California law. And in New Mexico, began to issuing marriage license to same-sex couples because their law actually didn't mention any gender in it. Portland, Oregon also began issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples. A poll was taken by the Washington Post that actually shows 51% of the country favors allowing same-sex marriage or same-sex couples to form civil unions, while San Francisco is told to halt same-sex unions. Like, does that make sense? If we have 50% of the country who actually is in agreement of, what we're trying to accomplish here, that it actually still halted. San Francisco decided to halt same-sex unions. Oregon actually take a more drastic step of halting all marriages until the state decided who can and cannot wed. So they just shut it all down. They were like, we're not having it. Until you figure out what it's going to be, we ain't having it. The proposed constitutional amendment with the same-sex ban died in the U.S. Senate after a testimony against it from very conservative politicians. Missouri voted to ban same-sex marriage. Washington State actually said that same-sex marriage in a court decision, while Washington State says yes to same-sex marriage in a court decision, while California Supreme Court actually voided same-sex marriages. Several states have passed initiatives to ban same-sex marriages that year. So 2004 was a lot going on. We have some progress in, San Francisco, but then they halted the same-sex couple weds, and then we took a step back in other states as well.
And so, and the same sort of narrative continues throughout the 2000s, right? A growing number of states legalized same-sex marriage, while a handful of states continue to dig their heels. All of that changes in 2015, however, when the U.S. Supreme Court makes same-sex marriage legal in all 50 states in Obergefell versus Hodges.
Yes. So Obergefell versus Hodges is a landmark civil rights case, which the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that fundamental right to marry is guaranteed to same-sex couples by both due process clause as well as the equal protection clause of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. The 5-4 ruling requires all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and any insular areas that includes, the islands. I don't know why I just drew a blank on that. But anybody in between that, same-sex, to recognize marriages of same-sex couples. With all the company rights and responsibilities that come along with marriage. That was decided on June 16th of 2015 that, same-sex marriage bans to be unconstitutional. So all states had to at that point issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples under federal jurisdiction.
And so it is only fitting to end this timeline with the following quote from that decision. No union is more profound than marriage, for it embodies the highest ideals of love, fidelity, devotion, sacrifice, and family. In forming a marital union, two people become something greater than once they were. As some of these petitioners in these case demonstrates, marriage embodies a love that they may endure even past death. It would misunderstand these men and women to say they disrespect the idea of marriage. Their plea is that they do respect it so deeply that they seek to find it in fulfillment for themselves. Their hope is not to be condemned to live in loneliness, excluded from one of the civilization's oldest institutions. They ask for equal dignity in the eyes of the law. The Constitution grants them all that right.
Absolutely. And so, I'm just curious, Laz, what was it, so we're at this 6-year anniversary where we're, as a same gender loving individual, we're able to marry our partners. What was it like for you coming of age at a time when LGBTQ plus folks could not get married?
So it was rough, like watching movies that didn't necessarily represent the type of love that I had for another man was hurtful, and to know that I wasn't, like, let's say if I fell in love, I couldn't marry that person once upon a time. Um, I was in previous relationships where marriage was discussed, and it was just a dream at that time. It was more of a lost cause. It was like, damn, I wish I could get married. I love you so much, but it wasn't possible. It was just a dream. It was something that we can only see in our fantasies and stories, but something that can never be. And with the administration Bush was around, there was like religious folks that were against two females getting married, and it was a bummer. It was depressing, to be honest. It was very demeaning towards our character because he felt less than. You know what I mean? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
is it about me? Why can't I get married? You know what I mean? Like, it almost forced you to, like, okay, so if I want to have these rights as a married couple, I have to marry a woman, and that's definitely not happening. So,
Right,
so right, like, no.
right.
Love my woman out there, but no, I can't get married to someone I don't love that way. So,
Mm-hmm.
what about you?
I think for me, I'm like a goal oriented person. Like, I need something to shoot for, right? I need the ultimate goal. And then marriage has always been the ultimate goal for me. So I'm not one of those people just date to date. I'm dating to get to that ultimate goal. And so, like, being a queer black man, like, I struggled with the idea of setting, like, what a relationship, like setting the goal for my relationship, because I was like, okay, like, marriage wasn't an option at that time. And to really like plan a future, with someone you love and care about, it becomes more challenging when you feel like the world, your country, and sometimes your family doesn't support, your vision for what you want for your life. And so a part of me felt like the United States invalidated my feelings about love, and therefore supported those who also invalidated my feelings. You know what I mean? Like people set that argument like, well, if it was supposed to be, then why wouldn't the United States be in your corner? And so I think that just placed it was a difficult place to be in when you're already having conversations with your family about who you love, who you care about, and the type of relationships you plan on having with that person. So it was not good. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
It was a depressing time, and not only that, like you said, like, me and you are folks of color, you know what I mean, and religion plays a big part of our foundations. At least for me, let me use I statements. For me, my family was very Catholic, typical Latin Catholic family, and of
Mhm.
course, like, them seeing that this country, the dream country that opens up so many opportunities, isn't opening that opportunity for folks like myself. It kind of gave them that right to continue
Exactly.
to continue to tell me that what I was doing was a sin. It's shameful, to be honest. So yeah, definitely think religion has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, almost 6 years ago to this day, we got 2 more days. So, on June 26th, 2015, which was about 6 years ago, the same-sex marriage was legalized. When you heard that news, what did that decision mean for you? What did it mean to you?
Oh my goodness, it changed my life completely. I was in a relationship at that time. I was with my boyfriend at the time for 4 years, 5 years, something like that. And the fact that we can have that conversation, that I can get married with this person, the person that I wanted by my bedside, if something happened to me, um, it was amazing. Like, you have no idea, Dave, everyone watching, it's a powerful thing to be recognized as someone else. You know what I mean? Like another couple, like right beside me. I'm not indifferent to anyone. I don't have more rights than anyone.
Yeah.
And it changed my life. So we got married a year after that. And because,
Congratulations.
thank you, man, thank you. Best decision I ever made. I don't have my wedding ring on. Don't tell him I said that. Where's the wedding? But I didn't wear my ring. Anyways, so we got married, and it changed our lives because he was an undocumented immigrant. Well, I was born in this country.
Wow.
So that marriage, I could actually give him the path to become a resident of this country, which was groundbreaking. You know what I mean? It was like
Yeah.
4 years into the relationship, 5 years into the relationship, I can help the man that I love that has helped me out too. You know what I mean? He's been such a supportive person throughout all my challenges in my life. We all have challenges, you know? And
Yeah.
he was there. And for me to actually like just get married with him and do that, it changed our lives. And so we went through the process. He is now a U.S. resident on his way to become a U.S. citizen
Yeah.
because of that law that was placed in.
I know I want you to send me pictures of the ceremony.
It was
like when it happens.
It was cute. It was in our backyard, and it was a trip, Dave. Like, my family was so anti like gay, anti everything, and they came through eventually. It was like a do or die kind of situation. I told them, if you can't accept me, then you can't accept me, and that's it. You know, I'm bouncing. Bye. I love you.
I think we're the same in that sense.
Like,
Yeah.
nah. No.
I think when I heard the news, I was also in a relationship, but coming towards the end of it. And I just remember kind of like feeling like I kind of always felt that like in my relationship, the idea, like we didn't really discuss marriage a lot. And I think because the person I was with was not interested in like window shopping, right? Like they're like, no, I'm only interested in things we can make happen today. And so we didn't really discuss marriage, although I do think had we stayed together, that would have been a possibility. But knowing that I was actually at the tail end of that relationship, deciding to leave, and hearing that the next relationship I entered, I would have the option to marry, actually gave me more hope at the end of a breakup. I was like, well, that that didn't work out. But at least now I'll have the option to marry this new man, whoever he is. So, I mean, I was extremely excited, but then I also had friends who had been together for years who had the opportunity. So I immediately started texting them, when's the wedding? Because I know it's coming, you know? And they all jumped. And I went to so many gay weddings at that point because everybody just kind of was like waiting. But I also think it made me feel validated from my family, from the country that I pay taxes in. And I was like, look, I finally feel somewhat equal because I'm still, I'm black. So I'm still feeling equal, but, I've leveled up a bit. And I kind of finally felt, that my sexuality wasn't as repressed as it had been before. So, I mean, that, it was definitely like a good moment. It was definitely a good moment.
That's good.
So in the years that, it has been legalized and we've had this across the country, have you noticed any changes towards attitude towards same-sex marriages or to the LGBTQ plus community at all?
Of course. I mean, the fact that you can go to a gay wedding is a start, and these pictures are being added on social media, and folks that might be typically not exposed to that kind of thing, they are like, oh, this is normal. This is nothing that's like a freak of nature kind of situation like a lot of folks see it as, especially those who are in the religion. They're seeing that presence of us folks getting married and loving each other, and we're no different, stated earlier, than someone else. You know what I mean? So that it makes other folks that may be a little bit more timid to post something like that or to talk about something like that, it makes them talk about it more. Like, oh, I'm actually going to talk to my parents or whoever about getting married, because now this is more mainstream, and it's changed a lot of folks. So it changed my family. You know what I mean? Like, I think like when I got married, my family they were kind of like, oh my God, like, are we really gonna host a gay wedding in our backyard? Um, but once they were there, like,
Yeah,
it was like other wedding. You know what I mean? It was nothing different. It was two people that loved each other. At the end of the day, it might sound tacky, but love is love is love is love. It's love. Like, I don't understand that. You know what I mean? So that presence,
exactly.
that really does help us as LGBTQ folks, and it helps people that are watching from behind the scenes. You know, people that are watching our social media. So yeah. What about yourself? Have you noticed any changes in attitudes?
You know what? I'm a pessimistic person. We could do a lot better.
Of
I'm not
course.
gonna even lie to you. I mean, there's obviously been a change, more acceptance, things like that. But there's still, state level policies and things that people are trying to push, that discriminate against LGBTQ people, especially transgender,
Yeah.
um, or non-binary folk, or gender non-conforming folk. It's still too many hurdles that we need to overcome. And so I am very much so, yes, that was progress. We made progress, but there's still fights to fight.
Oh,
Um, Definitely, right? There's still fights to fight. So yes, I do. I think I have noticed more acceptance, but I don't even want that word anymore, because it shouldn't even have to be acceptance. It shouldn't. And so the fact that I still have to say that it's more acceptance still indicates that there's still a lot of work to do, because I don't think we should be using that type of language. We've been doing this way too long. And so, yes, I will say there's more acceptance, but I would like to be at a point where we don't even have to have this conversation. We don't even have to talk about acceptance, because it just is.
I agree. I agree. There's like these small things that are happening even in 2021. I'm not sure if you heard of the movie Luca. It's a Disney
Yes,
movie.
I actually can't wait to watch it. Yeah.
I So good. You need to watch it. It's so good. And people are going crazy at the fact that there might be like homosexual vibes in the movie, kind of like two guys kind of in love. It's a question mark, but there's people on social media like, oh my God, like, why is that a thing? Why is my kid exposed to that? It's so small things that why is it that people are
Yes.
making about this? You know what I mean? I don't know if you know, like another instance is Rugrats. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Rugrats. It was re-released recently.
Okay.
One of the characters comes out as lesbian, and social media went on fire.
Is
They're
it
like,
Susie?
yeah,
I'm just kidding. It is.
Aunt Lucy's gay, yes.
That is hilarious. I can totally see that.
Yup, yup. Nailed it right up. Nailed it, yes. She came out as lesbian in the show. So social media is going crazy. Like, why is that? Why is that a thing? You know what I mean? The fact that we have to defend ourselves to why this isn't a cartoon or a movie or whatnot is definitely a sign that we must continue to fight. It does not stop here. We must continue. We have to fight for our trans brothers and sisters, non-binary folks. I agree with you, Dave, 100%.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, man. This is a great conversation. I guess I have another question. So, what do you think same-sex marriage fits into the broader picture of LGBTQ equality and like the movement? How do you feel about that? Or what
Oh
are
my
your?
goodness. So I thought about this question, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
thought my Latinx folks in other countries, um, and not just Latinx countries. We're talking about worldwide. The fact that the most powerful country in the world, a country that I love, I love and hate it. As someone who's Latin, know, we can be discriminated against sometimes, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, I love my country, regardless. And so the fact that in the most powerful country in the world, we can now get married to the person that we love. Another country's president can see that and say, you know what, maybe we should follow suit. And I think it could change the lives of those who are LGBTQ plus in other countries, either in their country or maybe like give them like hope to come over here to make their. So that's where my mind went. Just as a Latinx individual, how about yourself? Like, what do you see? How do you think the broader picture goes?
I like the lens that I actually like the lens that you looked through it. That was like great. I would never thought about it. I do think it's like, I think this is probably the toughest question we had. I think to kind of touch on what I said earlier, like it's still a lot more work. I feel like I hate to say we scratched the surface because this was a big win, right? Like it was a big win, but I think when we talk about equality, like not just equality but equity, like we have a lot further to get for the LGBTQ plus community. I do think like for like I would like to see more rights for transgender people. That includes healthcare and the things they need specifically for what they need. So I do think there is still like a lot of work, but it's hard to say where it fits on the spectrum like of like LGBT equality. But I would say like it was definitely a big win. I just think there is just a lot more work that needs to happen that focuses more specifically on like people who aren't cisgender. That's my thing.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree 100%. Like when you open one door, there's always another door, and that door needs to be broken down immediately. And after that door, one, and we need to keep on breaking those doors and never ever stop. I think there's always going to be a obstacle that we have to jump. Count me in. I'll always be there to jump that obstacle with my fellow LGBTQ folks.
Absolutely. And Brandon put in a good comment there that it's still strange that you can get fired from your job in some places, even though you can get a marriage license. And so like as I mentioned earlier, like there are still some state level restrictions to that impact the LGBTQ community. And I think I would like to see, like more movements happen, but more movement and policy from the federal level to help restrict those states that are imposing these type of things onto people. Because it is a shame that you could be, queer, gay, transgender, and be terminated from your job in some states. So definitely think we have a lot of work to do, but I'm big proponent of also healthcare for underprivileged communities, whether that mean underprivileged can mean so much, right? But I think like, oftentimes our transgender youth, our queer youth fall into that underprivileged category. And I think we need to work to make sure they have the support they need, one, to be who they are, two, to live a healthy whole life. And so that's what I think. I can talk about this forever.
Me too.
That was our last question of the night, Bo. Is there anything that you would like to add? Hi, DJ Niall.
No, nothing. I'm happy to be online with you, Dave. This is a great conversation. I think we talked about the history, we talked about our own experiences, about the struggle that's still left, and we're here, we're present. We're just a small bit of this movement, but we're doing. We're doing the damn thing. We're doing our hardest to inform the communities of what's up, what Whitman-Walker has to offer, and what other organizations have to offer. The help is there, and that's it.
For sure. So, thanks for coming through. So before I close today, I do want to remind everyone that we are still technically in a pandemic. I know things are opening up and it's feeling a little less pandemic-y, but we're still in a pandemic. If you want to get vaccinated, there are a dozen or so walk-up sites that you could do that throughout DC. You don't need no appointment. You can just go get your vaccine. If you want to get tested for COVID-19, again, you can call us at 202-207-2480, or you can email us at appointments@whitmanwalker.org. And we'll help you schedule that appointment. We'll also be registering people for the vaccine if you are interested in the vaccine. I personally, I've gotten it. I definitely encourage you all to get it. It's a weight lifted off your chest when you got the vaccine. I will just say that. And also, like, I don't have to wear my mask everywhere now because I got the vaccine. So that's what the benefit. So if you already gotten vaccinated, congratulations, you're a part of the team. The CDC has reduced the amount of mask wearing habits that is required for a vaccinated person. So you can get back to some of those pre-pandemic activities. It is totally understandable if you still want to continue to wear your mask, because there isn't a 100% way to know whether or not a person has received the vaccine or not, or to know that the vaccine is 100% effective. So if you are still got your vaccine, you still feel uncomfortable, wear your mask. I totally support that. If you haven't been vaccinated, again, continue to follow the CDC guidelines. I mean, you are still required to wear your mask, especially if it's in crowded spaces, and continue to keep that 6 feet of distance if you're not vaccinated. Also, I just want to add, it's completely up to all of us to stop the spread of COVID-19. So encourage people to get vaccinated. If you're not, keep your distance, follow those CDC guidelines. But most importantly, we're going to come back and we're going to continue to share information until our mouths are dry and we can't talk anymore. So continue to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And I said that because my mouth is literally dry and I did not bring any water. So continue to follow us at Whitman-Walker on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Also, you can follow us at Real Talk DC _ and also at the corner _ which you can learn about our art exhibits that we have down at our Liz location. Whew. That was a lot.
Yes.
I appreciate thanks for everybody for tuning in. I appreciate meeting you, Laz, and having this great conversation. Congratulations on being in a same-sex marriage. I hope to one day join you in that group. Need to find a man first, but we
enjoy it. Once you get bundled up, yeah.
But bundles are good, right?
Having nice benefits. But enjoy being single, brother.
All right. Thanks, DJ Now. Appreciate y'all tuning in our conversation. Until next time, Laz, you have a great one.
You as well. Good night, everybody.
Bye.